back to the club. We're your hosts, Akila Friends.
And I'm Ebony Chapman.
And today we'll be chatting about creating harmony. We're joined by Latoya Cooper, founder and CEO of Music Meets the Boardroom. Hey, Latoya.
Hello. I am so excited to be here with both of you queens. I am so excited.
Yeah, it is a Queen Sunday. It's about to be a
yes.
Tuesday when y'all hear it. But just so y'all know, we'll delve right deep into the Music Meets the Boardroom, and everything Latoya Cooper. But giving you a quick snapshot about what it's all about. It's a full service brand dedicated to supporting the careers of the growing, underserved indie artist entrepreneur community. So welcome again, Latoya, and we are going to dive right in.
Yes, I'm ready for this conversation. Been waiting for this conversation, been waiting for the opportunity just to connect with both of you. And just as I mentioned before, just share how amazing both of you are, what you're doing. And I'm excited to watch your journey.
Yes, oh gosh, same here. I feel like we've definitely been following each other on Instagram since low-key the inception of like our podcast.
Right.
So I was like, I feel like you were like one of the first people to like, and I was like, oh, this looks interesting. Follow back. So I'm so happy that we're finally like making this full circle.
Yes, this is the harmony we're talking about. So how about you start by I gave a quick snapshot, but describe Music Meets the Boardroom, and how, you think it's filling a gap in the music industry. Kind of why was it important to you to start it in the first place?
It was important for me to start Music Meets the Boardroom because I did see a huge gap. And so many artists over the years talk about the lack of business knowledge and how things were happening to them in regards to business. And it was just constant. And it was like no one was ever seeming to get a grasp of it, or how to help artists overcome these challenges. And so with myself being a born artist and also understanding as an artist that we are not only just artists, but we're also born entrepreneurs, it took me time as well to understand that and to embrace that other part of myself. And now that I have a full perspective of that, I'm able to look at our needs from a clear angle and help fellow artists understand how they can connect not only with their artistry, but with their business as well. And so with Music Meets the Boardroom, that is our mission, to help artists really not just know the business, but understand it and to embrace it and to feel confident in it and understand fully their role with their gift, their trusted gift. And I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the mission of Music Meets the Boardroom. I'm excited about having that clarity. And it has taken a long time and many years to get to this point, but I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I think that I feel like what you do is really special. And the reason why is because you hear so many, like I love to watch like Unsung or like Uncensored, and you hear so many amazing artists, like, I mean, people that we know, like Tierra Marie or like, the people who have like those one hit wonders and you're like, where do they always go? Like what happened to them? And it's because they kind of probably got it taken advantage of behind the scenes in the music industry. Their contracts are always messed up. B2K is another example of that. Like there's so many different artists and groups that don't have that knowledge going into it, because you're like, this is the passion, this is fun, this is what I like to do. And someone's like, you have talent, come this way, I'm going to sign you up and give you $1 million. And you think you're rich and you're spending money before you can spend it. And then all of a sudden you're broke. So it's like, I love that you made it your mission to then be like, you know what? I'm going to educate myself on this topic that I am passionate about, that I love. And then I'm going to teach other people, because it's ridiculous how many people have the same story.
Right. And I think also just culturally within the music community, it's heavily encouraged for us to focus on honing our skill, right? And so even though our skill counts for 20% of the business, 80% we're not building. And so in a way, there's elements that want us not to build that, because the more we know, the more we're going to make decisions that are in our best interest. The less money other people are going to make, the more money we're going to make. And so there's like social structural reasons behind that. And then also just tradition of not conditioning that part of us that really needs that help and love. But the artists that grasp this, they are more successful. And I think over the years, as artists, we're kind of told that being successful as an artist is kind of like a gamble and you're the chosen one, right? But really, when you start to understand the business, you realize that no, I actually have more influence on the level of success of my career and gift than I think. And I have the ability to build out a business. I have the ability to build out multiple streams of income. Talent, if you look at the definition of what talent means, it also means influence. Mm-hmm. It means persuasion. It means all these types of things. Having talent and a gift gives you a lot of natural power. And there are a lot of people who know this, but oftentimes the artists do not.
I like what you're saying though about the numbers, because anytime we're able to bring it back to some stats, bring it back to not a blanket statement of artists just don't know things or they do know things, but it's like what you're focusing on, as you mentioned, artists having that 20% focus on skill and making that almost their entire mission, their entire identity within the music industry, but there's still that 80%. Can you just list out some of those things that they may consistently be missing?
Yeah. Oh my God. See, we're on the same page.
We're on the same page. Perfect.
Consistently be missing within the 80%?
Within that 80% that obviously you fill that gap and teach.
Yes. Yes. Here we go. I'm getting out. I'm like, yes, come on for this. Okay. There's a multitude of things. One, I'm just going to start with something simple as musicianship etiquette can make a huge difference in the success level of an artist. An artist can be extremely talented, but if they don't have the business etiquette skills, they're not going to get called back because maybe they're not professional or they're not showing up properly or they're not interacting with a team properly. That's something that I help artists understand how to get that call back once they've been booked for something. Also understanding how to protect their gift their gift and their mission as they're moving through their career, right? So understanding what copywriting is, understanding what a patent is, understanding what intellectual property is, intangible, tangible property is, trademarking, understanding that stuff, understanding a little bit about every sub business that touches their business. As artists, you have to think like a CEO, right? And personally, I've worked with a lot of CEOs and had a chance to study them. And what they do is they know enough, a little bit about the business to know what should be going in a certain direction and what's not moving in the right direction, right? So when you think about a CEO, you can walk up to a CEO, have a conversation, and they can have a intellectual conversation with you about that subject, even though they might not be a full expert, but they know a little bit about it to know what's going on. And as artists, we need to be able to have that level of confidence and know that that is our responsibility for our gift, to know what's going on with our gift. Here's another thing that I think is really important is we hear, kind of going back to the stories and kind of helping us as artists to kind of grasp this here. So we hear the artist say, okay, someone took advantage of me, or they exploited my gift, or they've got me overly committed to things that I can't keep up with, right? Here's the deal. Either someone else is going to exploit your gift or you should do it, right? And oftentimes we're told as artists to find someone to do this for us, that we can't do this for ourselves, but you can, and you can understand business. It's a matter of just learning it and getting confident and truly believing it for yourself.
I love that. Yeah. I love that. How about we talk a little bit more about like how you got started in this? So it's one thing to say, this is a gap that I noticed. This is what Music Meets the Boardroom does. But who was your first artist to say, okay, you put something out here and I'm going to tap into Latoya because I see what she's doing, or see what she has the potential to do for me as an independent artist? Like, how did that process go from ideation to let me get my artist to really test this theory out?
It happened by accident. It was not even my focus. I was working professionally as an artist, and other artists were coming to me, asking me for business advice, asking me, how did I do certain things? Like, how do you manage all this? How do you structure your business? You're so organized. Everything's automated. How did you make this money? How did you set up this passive income? How did you set up this residual income? And then I started having, artists who were Grammy winners who were reaching out to me. I was having artists who were, doing great on their own, asking me to manage them. And it was just because they were watching what I was doing. And for me, it was natural because I went to business school. I was taught to consult businesses for a living. And I also worked with executives and was their side person, consulting them on different business maneuvers and initiatives. So it's very natural for me to do that. And so I had a mentor as a artist who pulled me to the side and was like, Latoya, you have something here. You need to do something with it. Had he not said something to me, I would have never noticed because it was just natural for me. And it wasn't just artists that I was helping other people in other industries build their businesses. So it's just a natural component.
Yeah, I love how things kind of always work out even when you're not expecting them to. Because sometimes there are things within ourselves that we are like, I didn't even think that would have been.
Everyone does this, right?
Yeah, I didn't even think that would have been a talent that I should sell or tell people about, or people don't do this already. And so it's great that you had a mentor, someone that kind of came to you and was like, hey girl, that is fire. You need to package that up and sell it to somebody because that's what we need.
So there was never any like major, like you said, people came to you, but or for the most part, came to you, notice what you were doing, notice what you were building. And that's why, you all, like what we said in our previous episode, you never know who's watching. I think that's an example of that. But did you ever have to, since then, pitch or circulate your business in a way, or even the people who came to you and thought you can do it for yourself, can you duplicate and do it for me? Were there any changes that you even noticed between doing something for yourself and persuading that excellence as yourself as a singer, as compared to doing that for somebody else? Like, what were some of the challenges, pitfalls, opportunities when it came for bringing other people on board and having them also follow your footsteps?
Mm-hmm. Let me make sure I understand your question clearly. Persuading people to trust, like maybe like trust my path, like advice, or
it was a mixture of things. So one, I would say there was a multiple of things that were said there. I think the first thing is really it's one thing to do it for yourself and to have folks notice you doing it well for yourself and coming in, wanting to copy that in a sense and do it for them. What were some of those pitfalls or challenges when trying to duplicate what you do for yourself and what you've been able to do for yourself when you're trying to then do it for others, when it comes to, let's start there. And
okay, I'm like, okay, I got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's the crazy part. It was harder for me to do it for myself than it was for other people. Because I knew I could do it for other people because that came natural for me. Because over the years, I had been helping people just naturally. But to be honest with you, when it came to actually starting to build out Music Meets the Boardroom, I didn't know if I could do it. It was easier for me to help somebody else be successful and watch them be successful than to do it for myself. And it took somebody saying to me, Latoya, you're doing this for everybody else. Why can't you do this for yourself? I was sitting in a cubicle. Okay. I was sitting in a cubicle. And I was watching, getting these text messages and phone calls and things of people saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's working. It's great. And I'm like, man, I want to go and do this full time, but I don't think that I can do it. And I'm like, it got, a light bulb came on. I was like, okay, if I can help all these people do this, why can't I do this for myself? And once I got the courage, I jumped, but it really was a reverse kind of situation. It was like other people, easy breezy in my sleep. And let me just give you a quick example of my gift of vision. And we had mentioned and talked about this off camera. Once I realized what my gift really was, then I was able to really tap into it the right way. But like I mentioned, my dad had got sick and just recently, and the doctor, we brought him home. I'm doing research. I'm looking into different things. And he's on 3 different blood pressure medications for years. In 1 week, we changed his diet. His blood pressure is down to normal levels the first time in 3 years. It was a matter of doing research, being here with him, doing research, changing up his diet. Like that goes back to the gift of vision, like seeing what's truly possible and how can we address this? Because I can see, and it's just easy for me. I don't know what it is, but I love it. Natural.
I feel like I want you to be able to take us through what it is that you do. So I'm an independent artist. I come to you, I'm like, Latoya, girl, I do not know what it is that I'm doing. I have an artist, maybe I have a contract ready to be signed, it hasn't been signed yet, or whatever my circumstances are. What I'm paying for your services. So tell me what is it that we are getting
The first-
right?
The first step is I want to know why you want to be an artist. That's the first step. The first step is getting those foundational elements down. And the reason for this is because several different reasons. One, you want to make sure you're in alignment, because the only way to really be successful in a way that's going to be fulfilling and effective is being in alignment. So we've got to get down to the core of why you want to do what you want to do. And what is your mission within that space? There are a lot of great artists out here, but when you are clear about who you are, why you do what you do, what your focus is on, it's going to be a lot easier for you. Here's the deal. The goal is so you're being an independent artist and being an entrepreneur is a lot of work, right? But when you're in the right space, you don't have to fight against a lot of things. You're in your own lane. You're in your own path. It is your journey. You don't have to worry about what's going on over here. You don't have to worry about what's going over here. Once you're clear about that, then we need to figure out what's your end goal, the end in mind. What's your big vision? Once we figure out what your big vision is, we need to break down how we're going to get to your big vision. What's the most important to you? Do you just want to be famous? Do you want to actually change lives? Do you want to make a lot of money? Let's say, for example, you want to make a lot of money. Okay, then let's break down what does your streams of income look like? Where do you want to make money? How much money do you want to make? We can break that down to numbers, like how much do you want to make a month, different things like that, building out your team. We would also look at how to protect your business, building out your business and protecting your business along your journey. What steps do you need to take now to make your business legit in terms of taxes, in terms of government type of requirements? Make sure it's structured out so when it grows, it actually has a strong foundation, and it's not, you don't have to go back and do all these legal things. We get all that stuff together for you. And also protecting it in terms of making sure no one can come in and steal your brand as you're building it. Because let me tell you, people are watching. No matter where you are, if you are starting out, you're the perfect target for different people who are going out here and trademarking other people's brands. And then you have to turn around and pay them a licensing fee to use what you've built and created. And there are people that are doing that. So that's a kind of a lot, but that's where we would start. And then we would build from there, make sure they build out and work with the right teams to build out exactly what they're needing.
That's right. That's really cool. Mm-hmm. So it sounds kind of like, would you bring in a lawyer, or would they bring in a lawyer?
Yes. So I would connect them with really great lawyers that I know will have their back, or if they want to research and bring in a lawyer. I always share with artists to connect with entertainment attorneys now, way before you need them. Research who you think you like, call them, like maybe 3 that you really like, call them and introduce yourself and say, you know what, hey, I'm an artist. I'm really moving, in this game. I don't necessarily need your support right now per se, but I will be calling you very soon. Please save my number. And so that they can start watching you, can start knowing what's going on with you. So when you do call and you need them, it's not like starting from scratch. You already have built up that relationship.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I would say too, based on what you're doing and what you say that, you're helping with these artists, do you toe the line oftentimes of being a manager? It sounds like a lot of what you do crosses between that consulting piece and also that management piece. And if you do, if there's any, when it comes to your revenue structure for your business, any kickback when it comes to interest, when it comes to that artist development and you helping that development, do you get the same sort of tie-in as a manager would potentially, or percentage that a manager would get if they were working directly with those artists?
I have artists who do ask me to manage them quite a bit, and I always say no.
Why is that?
It's not my goal right now. I don't necessarily want to be tied into the long term, how can I say this? I want to make sure I can help as many artists as possible, and with my level of expertise. And so if I make that commitment, and I may be totally wrong. So this may be an opportunity to set me straight. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like if I'm focused strictly on one artist or a couple different artists, then I feel like I'm not able to really help a grander scheme of artists in a way that I feel like I should. And so when I do have artists ask me that, I say no. But I think some of what I do is a little different in the sense that I also really focus on helping the artist with the mind shift, because that's the biggest thing. And I understand how to help artists shift and think a little different and see themselves as who they really are. And to really even have a manager, to where a manager can even be truly effective for you, you've got to be like in the right mind space anyway. So for me, now I'm not a manager, but maybe some things that I do kind of like ride that line a little bit.
Yeah. In your expert opinion, let's say if someone was an artist and then wanted a manager, since we're on the manager train, do you think that it is healthy, a good line? Like, what is a good relationship to have with your manager? Like, should I, not saying I'd be micromanaging you, but should I be definitely like, what's going on? Where's the book? Like, I know that I want to be booked for X amount of time. I know that I want to, like, are you setting expectations for them? Do they kind of take charge, or like, how does that relationship work? Like, what would be your opinion?
The artist is always the CEO. The artist is always the CEO. Everybody works for that artist. And I think that that's where the breakdown happens. And that's where artists tend to get taken advantage of, when they're not paying attention and assuming that they're handing over their power. You know, it's kind of, even though you're trusting and you're hiring people to do things, there's certain things that you still are responsible to hold on to. And if you see yourself as the CEO, then no matter who works for you, understand that they work for you and they're working on your best interest. And it's always great to make sure that you check in with those people to make sure that they're working on your best interest, right? So that's what I would say. That's what I would recommend for an artist, to stay in the loop on what's going on and understand and establish those equal expectations in that relationship. I also share something else with artists, because artists, we love to take a lot of things personally, right? And it's natural because our gifts are inside of us. But here's the deal. I let artists know there is no friendship in business. It doesn't mean you can't have a good, respectable relationship. But the reason why I say this is because we have to make sure that we are maintaining those healthy boundaries and professional relationships. And that when there are times when contracts and agreements need to be in place, we need to make sure they're in place. Business is business. It's not personal. It's just business.
Boom.
That's what the people need to
Boom.
hear.
Yes.
People need to hear all the time. And I think where you come from, and you mentioned it up top too, you're a singer yourself. And I wonder if having that artistic mindset and that artistic talent really gives you that sense of trust when it comes to these independent artists, to say, you know what, she's actually looking out for me in this perspective. And I think going back to that manager question, perhaps the fact that you're not the manager, or you're not directly like in the team in that capacity day in and day out, gives you that extra leverage to say, what I'm saying is true and you can take it or leave it, but know that I'm coming at your best interest and at heart.
Yeah. Right. I'm more, I call myself more of a strategist. Some people call me a coach. I don't necessarily like that because everybody's called a coach. So I just like, I prefer to be called a strategist. But my focus is helping the artists carry their empire, be able to do that.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
You were also quoted in one of your bios. I'm going to read it out to you. God told me to sing for people who want to be fed in a different way. I sing because I love to see people happy. After pushing through my years of depression, I knew I wanted to create music for people who are fighters. Let's discuss this amazing quote some more. Like, just unpack it for us.
Well, interesting. Here's the crazy part. God had told me to sing, He'd been since I was 3 years old, but he never told me why, but he just kept tapping me on my shoulder. And I knew he was going to use me somehow, but I didn't know what it was. I knew that I wanted to be suffering from depression. I know what it's like to suffer in silence. And I didn't want people to have those experiences. And I wanted to use my music to do that at that time. And I also wanted to see people build the courage to live purpose-filled lives and not to also always watch other people doing it. And so one thing that I love to do in my shows is I would love to dance with the audience and get them kind of just like out of the zone. And I'm like, you know what? I would stand up and I would be like, you can dance off beat if you want to. There's no rules here. You know, I just wanted them to just feel like they could let go and be themselves. And that's what that was really about. But what I later found through my journey, because I personally didn't have full clarity of like what God wanted me to do with my talent, my gift. And God started to shift me out of that space into where I am now. And let me be honest with you, I fought it. I was like, no, you've been having me sing for all this time. What are you doing now? There's no way. But what I realized was this, is that everything that I loved about performing and everything is still in this space. It's still here. And God has just given me a bigger platform. Because what is more beautiful than people wanting to hear you speak? When I got that, I was like, God, I get it. I'm letting go. And I still sing, I still create music and things like that. But I'm following that pull, that submission. And this is where I am now.
Yeah, I want to like give like a through line as to like what it is that, you know, you're referring to when you say that like you made a transition, that you were doing corporate work, you had been singing, and then you kind of shied away from the artistry and like the industry because you felt like people weren't as encouraging, or you maybe didn't have as much knowledge at the time to like really pursue what it is that you really, really wanted to do. And so you decided to go into the corporate space, and within that corporate space, you were successful and you were doing the things that you needed to do, but you weren't happy. It was something in you that wasn't fulfilled mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And when you talk about that tap on your shoulder, that's like you were referring to God kind of pulling you out of that space to then get you singing. I know that you also kind of touched on the fact that you were depressed for a period of time. Can you take us through that, and like what kind of was that piece that pulled you out of that?
Yes. So I was singing, and let me tell you, I was when I tell you a born entrepreneur and did not know it. I remember being like 11 years old and making phone calls and booking shows. And my parents didn't hear me. Like I'll be singing for the governor. I'll be up at it was nothing for me. And so that's what I did. And I got to the age where, you've got to go to college and get a job and those kind of like structured expectations. And I had no one around me to help kind of nurture and open up possibilities for me to continue to do what I loved and was doing well at a very young age. So I submitted to that. I submitted to the fact that, okay, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to get this job. And I did it. And I was a very good worker and I was very successful at my jobs. The last job that I left, I was promoted 5 times in 6 years and walked away a 6-figure earner. Okay. Easy for me, easy. But I was just like something was missing. But back to your question is, I was doing all these things and I remember just feeling so heavy and like I was suffering from depression and I didn't know why. I had let music go. Did not realize at that point that that's how I spiritually connect. Didn't get that at that point. And I remember I was on my way home from my corporate 6-figure job. I had 4 degrees, had a beautiful loft downtown. I had traveling the world, had everything that's supposed to make you happy, right? Driving up, stopped in front of my house, and I was just sitting there like crying. And I'm like, God, I just want to be happy. I just want to just this off of me. I don't know what it is. And I remember just praying and letting everything go and just letting God know that I will do whatever you want me to do. I do not care what it is. And like we had talked previously before the show, I thought God was going to tell me to like be a missionary or something. And I was for it. I was like, I don't care. I'm going to go do it. So then I went to sleep. The next day I woke up, went to work, forgot all about the conversation and prayer, had a great day at work. I remember walking into my loft, putting down my bag. And the second I put down my bag, God said, sing. That was it. And I'm like, what? And that was probably the first time in my life I think I actually heard a direct where God actually heard God talk to me. That was the first time. And I'm looking around like, what the heck is that? Because I ain't never heard that before. And I'm looking around and he said it again to make sure I heard him. Said sing. And I thought to myself, that's so simple. He's telling me to go back to my roots. So I said, okay. I didn't know what to do. So I actually ended up like attempting to like sing at my church choir. We can even talk about that for a minute. But and then like joining a band locally, I hired a vocal coach to help me just recondition my voice because I hadn't been taking care of it and had to rebuild it. So I was committed. I was like, God, I'm gonna keep doing this. And I didn't ask any questions. I just did what he said. And I said, you know, when he's ready to speak to me again, he will. And that's exactly what he did. He's just been with me this whole journey.
Yes. And what a journey it's been.
It's been a journey.
And it's been a mess. That's what it's been. It's been a journey. I mean, it's just crazy.
That's amazing. And it's great to hear, you know, like it doesn't matter when, it doesn't matter how. When it's time, it is time, and it will be direct, it'll be focused, and you will be successful in that. And I think you're really showing that in multiple ways throughout this conversation. So that is amazing to hear.
I mean, yeah, just to even bring it full circle, it's like she quit the job, obviously. She's now doing Music Meets the Boardroom full time. Do you have any other side hustles that you are doing, or is this just full time? This is full time. So clearly, we're finding success in our passions and our dreams and our loves and our things that are spiritually calling us. And so we love that.
Right. And I'll share this. In the last 3 months or so, I've been able to build out 9 different streams of income. So yeah, I'm not playing. Like when I'm 65, I want to sit on my couch and just let it roll. You know what I mean? So, and I love to teach artists how to do it.
Let's go. Yeah, let's go down the list then. Let's talk about because the reason too for this is not only to celebrate and just say this should be inspiration for anyone that wants to do anything really. Like this is a blueprint for that. But really, let's say for folks who want to work in this space, who are the independent artists,
and want to work
behind the scenes, and work with someone like you who come in, as you say, that strategist to help them build the empire that they're building with their artists. Like, what are some of those streams of income, first of all, and how do you interact with the folks that you are, you know, talking with outside of the artists to help make these things possible?
Yes. So one stream, of course, we have our podcast. I also have sponsors for that podcast. I also sell merch, and I also have a line of journals that you can find on Amazon. I offer a membership program through my Music Meets the Boardroom program. Music Meets the Boardroom. They can work with me directly, and then I also have the conference that I host every year. And not only that, I also have real estate, and I rent out some areas of my real estate. So there's lots of things that artists can do. I think that's just a few that I mentioned there. I can think off the top of my head, but that I have. And then also there's other things artists can do. There's one thing that I started, I haven't finished out yet because I've been distracted by everything else, is making sure that my music is available for people to play. Selling my sheet music. Your fans want to play your music, and it costs you very little to get that done.
That's great insight. The sheet music, like usually you're like, you know, I just got to get the downloads on Spotify, on Apple or SoundCloud, what have you, and get people to notice me on social. But the sheet music is definitely a great way. Yeah. Another stream of income. I think if you know this business, you know that's you start to tap into different ways to really make yourself a presence.
That gives another space for other artists in other ways that play different instruments to then also be playing your music or sampling your music or putting it out there in a way that that keeps it alive. So I think that that's such a great insight and very intuitive.
And there's money to be made there, but oftentimes we just don't tap into that. And we'll have our music already, mapped out and everything composed, and we use it, but we don't think to like make a copy of it and sell it because people want to play our music.
I'm sending this episode to my dad immediately after we like post it, because my dad's an artist as well. He had a band called Taxi back in his day, and they had a music playing. It was like Rock Don't Stop. I think that was the song that was on the radio. And right now it's actually like in Europe doing rounds. Like he gets royalty checks now for that. So that is such a great, and he writes music all the time. Like this, we're in his studio right now. And so he writes music all the time. He's like, oh, I'm going to make one for his mom. He made a song. He's like, Hurry Up and Wait, which is about literally cars trying to like speed past you at it and then stopping at the stoplight in front of you. Like he's just always on his like creative flow. So I think that that's a great tip that I'd love to pass on.
There it is.
Yeah. And, I think there's a way to look up like different, or just do research on what areas of sheet music do the best, like wedding songs or something, and categorizing, and they may not even be like songs that's made for weddings, but could be appropriate for that. And you can, market it in those categories people are always purchasing. You can always reach out to, different venues and say, hey, these songs will be perfect for your clients. It does require some marketing and work on your end to get some things in front of people. But once you've automated the foundational elements and process, then all you have to do is market and that's all you got to do and make money.
That's it. I do want to know too, because real quick before we step into some of the other things that you're doing, we talked about your interaction, your relationship, and what you do with the artists on the day-to-day with Music Meets the Boardroom. I'm just curious, for folks who may also work for those artists, what are their interactions with you? I'm thinking like oftentimes, I was a consultant too, and some of the things that I had to do or had to kind of garner against was the fact that people have different interests all the time. Mm-hmm. And so while they may hire you to do a job, who's hiring you for what reason politically to get what their agenda forward versus, what is the actual task that you need to get done in the best interest of the client, in your case, the independent artist. So I'm curious if you have any insight or anything to share, again, for folks who might also want to tap into this industry from that perspective, from your perspective, what to look out for from the rest of the team that's working with these independent artists?
Well, one thing for myself, and I had to get clarity around this as well, is I only work with artists who have a sense of urgency, who are in action, and who are really serious about what they're doing. Being an artist is a journey within itself, a self-discovery. And I think that's the most important thing. Now, when you said working with different people, so you mean like a manager and then like a PR or something like that?
Something like that, exactly.
Right, and them working together.
Them working together in conjunction with you, because then you're stepping in too. And
right, exactly. So where I kind of come into play with the artist in that conversation is, hopefully they've kind of come to me first a little bit, because I want to make sure the artist hires the right team and hires the right people, and they know what to look for when they're hiring the right people. Let's just take, for example, a PR person. Let's say someone comes to me and they say, I want to hire a PR. Well, I would share with them like some important elements to look for in PR. Make sure that the PR is committed to giving you great service. They can have all the connections in the world, but if they don't believe in your product, they're not going to give you the best results. I don't necessarily tap in and get in the midst of the relationship. I'm kind of in a scenario right now with that, where I have someone who wants to kind of bring me on as a team member. And I'm like, how do I want to service this team? So I'm more of like an advisor, strategist, and I tend to kind of like, I don't like to get into the weeds of that situation, because like I said, I want to focus on giving the artists what they need and then being able to go into the other artists and get what they need as well. But like I said, I don't get in the middle of that relationship. That is between them. My goal is to prepare them enough to feel confident to have and to deal with those relationships directly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
because I was like, this sounds very tricky, a tricky position for you to be in, but it sounds
yeah.
It's perfect because it's like if you're that person who's like either because I know a lot of people, we've talked to artists that have come from a label and then decided to do the independent route.
Yes.
And there's so many different things that you now have to fund yourself or think about yourself because now there's not a management team or there's not like a label doing it all for you that you now have to do it yourself. So you're like the perfect person to come to be like, hey, I'm an independent artist and I need you to help me with all of these different avenues that I now have to navigate. I have to figure out how to shoot my own music video and do this, that, and the third. I need a team. So you're the person that's like, all right, honey, let me get you together. I got you.
Yeah. And I get them together quick. So I'm like, okay, this is what you do. You go over and do this, do this, do this. And then, I just help them see clearly and to not be overwhelmed by that whole process. And they're a business. So sometimes they're like, I'm taking all this on, I'm responsible for this. You are a business, but it does not mean you have to physically do it all. You're just the CEO now.
Yeah. And I think you have a level of that you talk about in your upcoming ebook that I want to make sure that we talk about a little bit too. Can you just give the people a quick overview of what to expect? It sounds like specifically when it comes to pertaining women and women indie artists, but share what you have about your ebook and let's dive in.
Yes. So I have an ebook that's coming out July 13th that's called Simple Methods, Smarter Decisions, a safety resource guide for female recording artists. And in this book, really this book is to start to open up or continue meaningful conversation around issues, concerns, concepts that affect female recording artists and indie artists, entrepreneurs. And the reason why I wrote this book, because I was watching what was happening with, I don't know if I can say like these celebrity names or whatever, but what's happening with all these trials and things with these top celebrities. And it was triggering for me. Okay. I was watching this stuff and I'm like, oh, because I personally had been through situations, throughout my journey where I was like, this could have easily been me. And what was brought to mind was you see these high level artists and what's happening there, but people are not keeping in mind that this is happening at all levels of the journey. It happens often at the beginning level of journey. So who is having the conversations with the young girls and women who are coming in and what's happening? They have no voice. And so the goal of this book is to allow and encourage women like you and I who've been through these type of processes and we've been in this environment to start sharing and having more dialogue and just offering up this information willingly. So when we see women who are coming into the game, like just wrap them up and just give them the information. They may not want it at the time, but they'll remember it when they need it, So that's what this is about. And there was not, and there is no book like it on the market at all. And I really want to stop seeing this stuff happening to us. I know that the structure of our society and the conditioning of women and things like that, that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. But at least those of us who have some information that can help protect each other as we're walking this path is important. And here's another thing. Being an artist and having a gift of any sort is powerful, right? So everything is attracted to your gift. Beautiful, good things are attracted to your gift. Things that are not so good are attracted to your gift. And when you are working in a space and operating in a space of alignment, you're going to be all these things are going to be attracted to you. Yeah. So if you understand that, then you're able to kind of like feel confident in making decisions that's going to help keep it protected, even if it's like things that are trendy or things that you don't really want to say no to because you've got all this peer pressure or whatever. But if you know what you're carrying, it's going to be a no-brainer. You're going to walk your lane the way you need to walk your lane.
That's it.
I love what you said, that good and bad things are going to be attracted to your gift.
Oh, yes.
That's a
quote. Yes.
That's a good
and we will make sure that people hear it. I think it's important. I think it's interesting too, what you said, the fact that it's not really out there in this capacity. Like this, the ebook is a guide. It is a guide. And it's something that I think everyone should read who will be stepping into this industry, just to know the good, bad, and the ugly, or industries like it. Anything in search of glitter and gold,
But I mean, anyone in entertainment, period, at this point, like anyone, anyone in entertainment, I feel like should get the ebook, because it really does, like she was saying, like you were saying, everything that glitters isn't gold, right? And so it's like, you have to really be aware of those things. And whether, it's specific to like the music industry or not, there's always lessons to be applied elsewhere. So I think if you're in the music, if you're in the entertainment industry, period, you need to go get her ebook immediately.
Go get this book. I talk about the power of your gift. I talk about, I've got the titles here, and I'm going to just read a couple of really cool ones. So I've got the power of your gift. That's, like you said, anybody in the entertainment industry. I even have a chapter that's called Wolves, Vultures, and Narcissists. Okay. That's something we need to talk about. All right. Like, that's real stuff. And I'm glad that socially we're talking about it more, but it's always been an issue that has like surfaced within the entertainment space. But I think a lot of artists don't really know how to maneuver it, because they don't know what it is when they see it. They know it's off. They know it's weird. They know it feels wrong and scary, but they don't know how to manage it or deal with it. And so in the book, I'd share some insight on that and what that is, and how to maneuver around that as much as you can. And then I talk about the male groupie, and, I talk about that too. That's something that, like, how you watch the Discovery Channel and you hear the voice, like, the person, the animal moves, right? Like, that's how, when I see the male groupie, that's how I'm like, that's what's going on in my head. It's fascinating to me. And so I wrote this chapter about this because I think that women need to know about this. You see artists, big time successful artists, who marry their groupies. Like, they marry them and they're not even aware that that's what they've done until the divorce comes, and then all the money's gone, or they've taken over their career, or they're in domestic violence situations, and they're not correlating like that's what that is.
Yeah.
Wait, so
get into
it. We want to know.
Mel said that, and I was thinking of a few artists that behind the music.
Yes. And I see it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she married her groupie, and this is not going to be pretty.
Yeah.
And here's another thing. I'm going to share this really, really quick with you, because this happens at all levels, and this is something that a woman who has a gift, a light, that carries a light, needs to just be mindful of. Doesn't mean you should be weary of all people, but just kind of keep it in your mind, is that sometimes people will see dollar signs on you, or they'll see your full potential. They can look at you and tell you're going to be successful, and they'll latch onto you with the intent of getting into your personal space, possibly marrying you or getting into a relationship with you, so that they can be the ones who control that. And that's where you'll see successful or talented people, women will find themselves in domestic violence situations, because they don't want to lose you. They don't want to lose that opportunity, because you're the opportunity, you're the dollar sign. And through the domestic violence, they can control you and continue to benefit from what you have to offer. Or they can be a narcissist or something worse that wants to come in and destroy it.
Okay, I can Tina.
I was also saying
I can Tina. Yeah,
the new documentary on HBO Max. Make sure to check it out, because it's so. I mean,
Bobby Brown and Whitney. Okay,
well, that was a little. I need the full story with that one, because he was very much.
That was kind of mutual. No, that's just.
I was like, that's not cut and play with that one. But I would say too, like, I want to make sure that we know with your ebook, and I think obviously the fact that it's coming out in July, we're going to tap in Latoya. We're going to talk some more about it for sure.
Okay.
But I want to know with this. Let the people know, is it more of a guide? Is it more personal stories and essays? Is it more of just like, tell tales of things, or folks in the industry? Like, what can people expect to learn from this outside of knowing to watch out?
It's more of a resource of sharing lessons learned, of things that are going to be very, very helpful for any woman, right? A man can actually read this book, a male who's walking into the industry for the first time, and get tons of information and resources from this. However, it was just called on me for women. For some reason, I don't know why, but it was like, women, I need to, maybe because all the triggers, but yes, it's more of a resource. I talk about the business. I talk about the importance of know your business, and I break that down. I talk about leadership amongst women, and I've had some clients, female clients, who are struggling with this. They're struggling with how socially, we're supposed to be structured and operate as women, agreeable all the time. But here's the deal. When you are running this business, you're in charge and you are going to have to make tough decisions. And you know what? You're going to piss some people off, but that's okay. You have to look out for your business, you know? Another thing that I talk about in this book is your no is non-negotiable. You know, like your no is non-negotiable. And as women, we're socially conditioned to be agreeable all the time. And how can we grow anything if we're always giving something away, if we're unable to set boundaries? I talk about that as well, setting those boundaries and being okay with setting those boundaries. I really kind of get into this in a deep form. So I'm excited about the book. I can't wait to get it out. Like, it's going to come out first as an ebook. It will be produced as a hard paperback as well. And it will also be a Audible as well.
Love it.
I'm excited to read the book. I mean, I'm listening and I'm like, not that I feel triggered, but I feel triggered. I was like, oh, she's talking to me. I feel like I've been talking to my therapist for the past X amount of months, and I need to just read Latoya's book, because clearly setting boundaries and saying no and not having to be agreeable are like the things that I need to work on.
Yeah. And just for women in general, I had to, and I struggled with the same thing. I struggle with the same thing as well, until I realized that my no is non-negotiable. Yeah. I don't have to explain my no. And any woman can use that, and especially when it comes to like dating and things like that. That's always, that's a struggle sometimes, when you say no and then someone's trying to persuade you to change your mind. And the answer is no, my no is non-negotiable, period. So yeah. So yes.
I love that. And I think it kind of blends into this. We talked about a lot today. And I think it kind of blends into the same sort of discussion of like, when you have your inner peace, when you're walking in your calling, when you listen to the things around you and really tap into your talent in a great way, you're able to create that harmony, not only within yourself, but also with the things that you do. And like I said, like at the top of this episode, this is all about creating harmony. So how about, Latoya, you tell us, what does creating, harmony mean to you?
Creating harmony, what it means to me, starts with being true to yourself, so that when people interact with you and have the opportunity to experience you, they can be true to themselves as well. And it can be a genuine experience. What's more beautiful than that? When you create space for people to just take a deep breath and to just be happy and not have to keep up a facade and just be genuine. And I love that. And that's part of my mission, is to create space like that and let people know that it's okay to do that for others as well. So that's what harmony is about for me.
Yes. And you know what else is very harmonious over here is our connection here at the Black Creators Club. We love to hear from the people, our creators. So please continue to like, subscribe, and comment on our videos on Instagram, on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Girl, we are wherever you are. You can find us. You can email us at the Black Creators Club at gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram at the Black Creators Club. And you guys, just continue to love and support us. We have so many amazing guests coming up. We have so many amazing projects about to be launched. So you guys don't want to miss anything. So make sure you sign up with your email and our, what is it? The landing page.
The landing page.
Yes,
Our website.
We got a website. So yes, so just keep in touch with us, because we got things coming up 2021. Honey.
Absolutely. And I mean, we talked about a lot of the things that you have to offer, but I want to make sure that we tap into our game real quick to give people quick sound bites of what you do from one of your many streams of income within Music Meets the Boardroom, and that is your podcast. And so welcome to Boardroom Power Hour, where we'll be reading out a few of your recent episode titles. And all we want you to do is just tell us what that main takeaway was, or one of the main takeaways that folks who really want to have that quick synopsis to say, oh, let me check more into Music Meets the Boardroom, because obviously you're saying some gems and you're speaking some truths that I need to hear, right? All right.
Yes, I'm ready. Let's go for it.
Yes. All right. So the first one, you have a title or episode called One Page Business Plan for an Indie Artist Entrepreneur. What's that all?
Yes. we're busy. We don't have a lot of time, but we need to have a plan. We need to know where we are and where we're going. So create a one-page business plan. If they listen to the episode, they'll get an insight of the top priority components of a one-page business plan that they need to update every year. And that business plan should have a 3 to 5 year perspective.
Oh, love that. That's great advice. How to be an indie artist everyone wants to work with.
Yes. In that episode, I talk about how to always be the artist, even if you're not the most talented in the room, to get that call back and to be the artist everyone wants to work with. Make the job easy for your client. Listen to your client's needs. Make sure that you plan ahead. Listen to how you can make it a win-win for both parties. Not only get what you want, but also get what the client wants. Take the stress off the client. Don't make the job stressful for the client. There's lots of different components like that. I give the gems of how to make the client fall in love with you.
Yes. All right. There's another title, How to Reach Your Biggest Dreams and Goals in a Year. That's what I need to know.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So in that episode, I provide strategies of how to do that, how to position yourself to get those goals. I also talk about the power of the pen, and listeners can go to Music Meets the Boardroom, shop the brand, and pick up their journal today, because there's power in the pen. You write it down, you are 50% more likely to actually achieve it. And did you know that less than 2 to 3% of the American population actually write down and review their goals? Less than 2 to 3%. And if you look at the percentage of people who are like super successful, that correlates with that percentage. It's like 1 or 2%. So let's be part of that group. Write it down, read over it, look at it, so the subconscious mind picks it up and pushes you to make that happen.
Love it.
How to hire the right photographer for your brand.
Yes. So I interviewed a wonderful photographer who is genius. Like she's, I believe her name was Boston. It's been about a year since I interviewed her, and she was fire. So go listen to that podcast. When I tell you, I learned so much from her. She's in LA. She takes pictures of some of the biggest stars out there, and she drops gems.
Nice. Okay. And she's in LA. Great.
Right. Write that down.
Love
Boston.
that. Yes. The last one that we picked up was, how do indie artists make money? You talked about this whole episode, but let's give a main takeaway for that one. How do indie artists make money?
Yes. So in that episode, I broke down different possible streams of income. I also talked about how to shift our brain in terms of looking at what's just offered to us or what traditionally we've done, and start taking our creative and innovative thinking in our art and translating that energy over to our business to start thinking more creative and innovative in terms of revenue streams for ourselves. If you look at the top successful entrepreneurs of our time, they're not just entrepreneurs, they're also creatives as well. And they've taken that creative energy and branched that into their businesses. And that's why they're creative. And we can do the same thing as artists. So passive income, I talk about how all streams of income should be passive or residual income. It's okay to exchange $1 for a couple work hours, but how do we make that show up for us long-term? Right? We've got to think long-term. This is a long-term game. This is not a short-term game. This is a long-term game. So everything should be tied to residual and passive income.
Absolutely.
Yes. Honestly, thank you so much. Like that was everything, because, we do need that passive income, things that they don't teach us in school. Latoya, I know you said you were an artist, and I know we didn't talk about this before, but would you mind giving us a little send-off with a little song, a little something to just let the people know what you got?
Okay, sure. Wasn't planning to do this, but I'll do it. Okay. I'll sing a little bit of one of my songs. Okay. 33 years old, lying alone. Sold a dream, yes, it seems, searching to find what is mine. We love strong, then he's gone, left with scars to pass on. My love affair with you, my love affair with you, saved my soul from going cold. Music, you never leave me, no. Music, you saved my soul from going cold.
Yes. This is giving me like, Common, I never loved her, or wish I loved her, that thing about how he's singing about hip hop. Like, oh my gosh, Kanye, I love this.
You better get the run.
You better neo situation.
And that song was featured on Essence.com. It launched it and was featured on Essence.com.
I mean, come on. And on the Black Creators Club. Come on now.
Yes.
Loved it. Latoya, this was such a great time. How about you just let the listeners know once again where they can find you, where they can tap into Music Meets the Boardroom?
Yes, you can find me as well as my team at musicmeetstheboardroom.com. You can also follow us on all social media platforms as Music Meets the Boardroom, or myself directly, Latoya Cooper, the songstress.
Love it. Love it. Okay. And you can find me chatting business, pop culture, and lifestyle at Aquila Friends. Ebony, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at EbonyChapman12, talking everything Black-owned businesses as well as the Black Creators Club.
Yes. Okay. And obviously, like we said, you can find the Black Creators Club on all platforms at the Black Creators Club. Thank you so much for joining us today for such an enriching discussion. And always abide by your ABCs. Always be creating. Thanks,
Bye,
y'all.
guys.
Yay! Yeah, that was so good.